flight deck. As a reminder, this is an uncovered event. You can remove your covers and place them elsewhere. Uncovered event.
I met with, this is Chris by the way, I met with Gab and I'm going to go down to the area where I'm to meet Gab, but I'm also going to look for shots that are not of the ship once I pass them. You don't want shots of the ship, do you, Billy, currently? You don't want shots of the ship, do you, Billy, currently? Okay, yeah, that's a cool shot. Okay, yeah, press is behind me, it looks like, so I'll...
We're getting ready for catch these aircraft. I need all hands forward of spot 5. Anybody after spot 5 needs to be in the complete flight deck uniform. Helmets on, goggles on, sleeves rolled down, life vest on and securely fastened. If you don't have this, make your way up forward.
sir.
Thank you.
F-35 Bravo, as we told, aircraft spotted by our friends in the United States Marine Corps. She actually just took part in Fleet Weeks down in Houston, as well as New Orleans.
And all the flight decks certified for replacement, ready for F-35s.
On top of our 11 carriers, this basically makes it a mini carrier, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
So there's 9 more mini carriers.
It's the sir. And then coming up here on our port side, we have the USS Nitsa, so DDG 94. So same exact flight as us, 2 Alpha DDG, Aegis Guided Missile Destroyer. Has been involved in a lot of different operations, including back in 2016, successfully attacked several radar sites that had been used to track and coordinate the USS Mason when they are transiting off of Yemen.
She was my first destroyer, sir. I was operations officer on board right after she came back.
Who was the skipper then?
Commander Kaler was the first captain, then it was Commander Cloud, then Commander Zoe Green.
Oh, wow.
Been 3 years on board, sir. She's a fine ship. Not as good as this one.
You and Admiral Kaler can arm wrestle about that.
Yes, sir.
Webb is your counterpart, obviously, in the Pacific.
flipping it. Where are you guys at? Where are you going?
So we'll basically take it down. We'll be disembarking you guys either at 8:30, which is your hard stop, or once we get down to the British ship down at the end of the line. But that's going to be before the Narrows Bridge, and then we'll turn around there. So we'll head back up to 88.
Oh, and then you guys go right there. Are you going to be up there before the culture community?
We'll be up there, yes, sir. So as soon as we disembark, you guys will turn around, and then we'll be ahead of the tall ship at parade of sail, and then we'll go to 88 North.
Kind of a photographer's dream here.
Oh yeah, yes sir.
Plenty of material.
Just as I was mentioning, we kind of have two vessels here flanking us. On the port side here, we have a Spanish flat top Juan Carlos 1. So very capable platform, able to utilize helicopters as well as Harrier vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. We have a couple different Spanish vessels with us actually this weekend. To
Including the tall ship. The
Yes, absolutely.
All their midshipmen. It's kind of like a Bark Eagle. All their midshipmen.
So that would be amazing to see.
Yes.
I have not seen it yet, so I'm very excited.
No,
to
man. If they invite you on board for dinner, you need to come aboard. I'm telling you, it's really, they put out a good spread.
Okay, wonderful. And then on our starboard side, actually, will be the Dutch oiler, the Den Helder. So she actually was just commissioned towards the end of last year. So this is really her first kind of major voyage, helping all of these international vessels cross the Atlantic, get here on time to celebrate with us. So pretty amazing.
Once we run around to the flat top surf, we'll very quickly transition over to the side side. Okay.
World Trade Center at 026 and decimal 3.
Two whistles, aye.
hotel, you see the MQ-25 right in front of the island?
Yep.
And there will be fine those things. Logistics wins wars, and having a great partner that has a logistics ship that capable helps us in that big Pacific. Come out routinely and help us refuel our ships.
And gentlemen, stand by for one whistle. One whistle.
Alright, like clockwork. I will target.
Sets up in the North Atlantic. They've been an invaluable asset and a friend to us as far as tracking any patrols that are coming out of the North Atlantic, possibly coming out of the wider Atlantic area.
Help you settle out with those Russian submarines.
Yes, sir.
And Sir Admiral, we have about 4 more minutes until we're going to flow you guys back down to the flight deck. We just slowed down to 3 knots, so if there's anything else up on the bridge of the pilot house, we've got about 4 minutes, and then we'll flow you guys down.
Yeah, thanks for helping us out.
Thank you very much, sir. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Excellent. Great job.
Thank you very much, sir. I greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You Army officer. All day, every day.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. What do you want?
Check. You want more? Check 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is everything what you want to do?
Just a little bit. Slight chance. Sorry
Just you, sir. Sir? Yep, right around. Thank you so much. Hi, sir. Last name? Sure. Sorry, somebody made this really small font and it was me. All right, you're going to be on this side in that fourth row. 6, 5, and 6. Back row 2, 5, and 6. Not at all. Hi, sir. You're actually going to follow this gentleman right here. Easy. Hi, sir. I'm going to send you right over there. Front row 2 left. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you again.
Alright, so you're going to be in our second row with it. Your name is wanted to start on all you just you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Great.
It's unfortunate. I get it.
Right around collision. Hi, sir. Absolutely. You are, I know where your name is, sir. I wrote it myself. The alphabet is just long. Oh, piano, there you are. You're going to be across. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello. Hi, sir. Straight around.
And then, General Guevara.
Hi, sir. Yes, here. General Guevara.
Good to see you again.
Yep. You're going to be in the second row on this side. Right next to the second row right here. Yes, sir. Second row. Next to Charlebois. Just him? Nope, you're going to be right over here. Is that okay? Might be at one seat back on this row. Hi there. I've got you, sir. You are going to be in my third row on this side, seat 7. Lydia, third row, seat 7. Excuse me, what'd you say? Third row, seat 7. Yep. Hi there, sir. You're going to be right around there. Thank you, sir. You are not.
Only your candidate of the state need to be here.
Second row.
Please stay here with your second. Thank you.
Are you right around there with this gentleman?
Flygvapnet vill ha dem sen, jag lovar jag ska skicka på någon länk imorgon.
Ja, självklart.
Alltså, de skulle göra...
You're very important. You are very important. Happy 4th of July. You can go with her.
De vill ha...
Det är helt
Vi vet inte vilka som är svenskar här. Det kommer en helikopter bakom den amerikanska flaggan.
Norden.
You're going to be Lydia. Far side, 4th row. Yep, yep.
Only one from your...
Mike.
Check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
Check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes, ma'am. Right around, right around. Kind of maybe yes, sir. Sorry, a lot of small print here. Hi, sorry, Maker. Great, Yep, you're going to be on the far side in the back row. Just one seat. Just one seat. He can go with you. You can pick both of them. Oh, no, sorry. Right around the corner.
Sorry, if you will follow me.
TV is
Do you know if there's any extra seats on the seated area for GC? Since the GC of the Navy's here, Tier 3 General SES.
Oh, all right. Sir, can I have you pull over here for just a moment? Just an issue with our queue. I want to get it. Say again?
Ivory Coast.
Sorry, it's a lot of stress.
Seems like you might be able to one kind of looks good. The protocol review goes by protocol review. Yeah. It's like written in the rules. It's up to you because we'll bring it up next week.
I get it. It happens.
So I can take it. Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, question for you. Do you know how many stills we have?
All day?
Just for when he's speaking right here at the podium.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So we know how many people
I might do it when I dry off.
I see what you mean.
Sitting over there at the same time that there's like two stars and bleachers. Like I'm happily give up my seat.
See, I think they're all as long as there's nobody else, I'll say too.
Yeah, no, they've got 83 stars. That's what I'm worried about. Right, but also like
This is a uncovered vent while at flyups. Please remove your covers at this time.
Lopez.
He's in the line.
Who is it?
It's not for backside. No. Is it on the other side?
Australia? Last name? Oh, that's him. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, it's getting hot out here.
Is that shade?
Yeah, I know.
That was right behind you. I didn't see anything.
You can cut the light.
Any earplugs?
Sounds good. Tell them like, hey, you're either in the audience or you're sitting over there in that podium area 06 and above. Perfect. Thank you.
You've gone everywhere but.
All right, how are we doing?
Are you looking for your spot? Okay.
Okay, we just need
Is it just one?
Second row for, got it?
Give me 1 second.
Yep, okay.
In front of that.
You'll escort them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's 3 of us, so we'll be.
That's after he's done with the view.
It'll be during that. During. Yeah, so we'll move them around.
Okay, all right. So we'll just have to move on to the mark. But apparently, after he's done with the view, he doesn't know which way. Originally, you're supposed to go this way.
Okay, sure. Rocco, let me find your
Okay, I'll get you some of your.
We just.
Yeah, of course.
no, it should be a spot. 7. Spot 5. That's too close. That's too close. No, we'll be back. 7 left. That's what we thought. Spot 5.
You want to stay over here?
Yeah, it's right there.
You want to stay over here to help manage people for the first? Okay, perfect.
These press right here. Are they going to get on top of the riser? The 3 individuals.
Okay.
You doing okay up there, Leo? That's okay. You doing okay up there? Everything cool? Okay. Okay. Standing by.
There you go, just shift over to the side.
Come back. Hey Bryce, can you come back to suspension? Alright, we're gonna go get on this cut riser platform.
Shot.
How long are we up right here? Come on, you'll be
No more than 5. But I'd start spinning.
Yep.
Flight demonstration team, the United States Navy Blue Angels. Right now, they are screaming up the Hudson River in their legendary 6-jet Delta formation. Be sure to note how rock solid that flight path is. Following closely behind the Blues, we have a massive, roaring wall of sound. A 10-ship mixed formation showcasing the raw, tactical muscle of the United States Navy's carrier air wings. We have 8 FA-18 Super Hornets escorting 2 of the cutting-edge F-35C Lightning IIs. Breaking the tension now with the magnificent splash of color. Look up for the French Air and Space Force's elite aerobatic team, the Patrouille de France. These 9 Alpha jets are leaving trails of red, white, and blue smoke. What a beautiful display of Allied air power. Ladies and gentlemen, history is roaring to life over the Hudson right now. Look up to see the breathtaking commemorative Air Force in a stunning formation. Leading the pack are legendary heavy bombers from World War II, the mighty B-29 Super Fortress, escorted by a sleek, snarling P-51 Mustang. The Osprey is an engineering marvel. It is the world's first production tilt-rotor aircraft, giving the Marines the high-speed, long-range performance of a turboprop airplane combined with the vertical takeoff capability of a helicopter. Coming in low and steady now, we have a pair of U.S. Navy C-2A Greyhounds. Notice that unique high-wing design and the distinctive four-finned tail configuration. These twin-engine turboprops might not have the flashy speed of a fighter, but they have served as the absolute lifeline for the fleet for many years. Right on the heels of the Greyhounds, block out the sun for two massive U.S. Marine Corps KC-130J Super Hercules transports. These four-engine tactical tankers are flying in a tight side-by-side formation, showcasing the incredible stability of this legendary aviation framework. The Herc has been in continuous production longer than any other military aircraft in history, but these modern Marine Corps versions are uniquely specialized. The K in KC-130 stands for tanker. And now for a very special debut. Looking to the south, we have a pair of sleek twin-engine turboprops flying by. These are the brand new U.S. Navy T-54A Marlin IIs, making one of their first major public appearances. This aircraft is the brand new backbone of the Navy's multi-engine training system, based on the commercial Beechcraft King Air 260. The T-54A is actively replacing the venerable T-44 Pegasus, which has been training naval aviators since the late 1970s. Up next, we welcome one of the newest members of the NATO alliance, Sweden. Hailing from the Swedish Air Force, this is their heavy lift champ, the C-130H, known locally in Sweden as the TP-84. Keep looking south, everyone. If you've ever wondered what absolute structural strength looks like, this is it. Flying by now is a Lockheed WP-3D Orion, operated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, better known as the NOAA Hurricane Hunters. This massive four-engine turboprop is heavily modified and bristles with specialized weather radars, including that giant distinctive black dome sitting under the fuselage. Coming in next, we have a beautiful two-ship formation representing the lifesavers of the U.S. Coast Guard. Leading the pair is the long-range HC-130J Super Hercules, flanked closely by its medium-range counterpart, the HC-144B Ocean Sentry. Representing the humanitarian heart of our armed forces, they sport that unmistakable, high-visibility white, orange, and blue paint scheme. These aircraft are a beacon of hope for those in peril at sea. They watch over millions of square miles of ocean, embodying the uniquely American commitment to saving lives and enforcing the rule of law. Closing out our heavy transport and rescue block today, the sky is filled with a massive display of Air Force tactical power. Flying overhead in a tight side-by-side pass is a standard C-130J Super Hercules alongside its highly specialized brother, the HC-130J Combat King II. The HC-130J Combat King II is a legend as the Air Force's only dedicated fixed-wing personnel recovery platform. A powerful reminder of the American ethos, no man left behind. Flown by Air Combat Command, its primary, highly dangerous job is to sneak deep behind enemy lines at night to rescue downed pilots or isolated troops. Up next, beating the air into submission is an impressive five-ship formation of U.S. Navy MH-60R Seahawks, known in the fleet as the Romeo. This helicopter, equipped for its primary mission of anti-submarine hunting, is the undisputed apex predator of the ocean surface. And here comes a flash of bright orange and white. Listen to the high-pitched hum of 4 U.S. Navy TH-73A Thrashers flying past in an immaculate diamond formation. This sleek helicopter is the advanced training platform for the next generation of Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard helicopter pilots. Representing the Kingdom of Spain, we have an incredibly rare mixed three-ship formation from the Spanish Air and Space Force. Look at this spectacular lineup. 2 nimble H-135 train sea, and portions of the land simultaneously, giving commanders an unmatched picture of the battle space before friendly forces ever arrive. Bringing a thunderous rumble to the skies now is a roaring four-ship formation of U.S. Air Force A-10 Thunderbolt IIs, affectionately known as the Warthog.
High in the sky, making a spectacular international appearance next is a single Airbus A330 multi-role tanker transport aircraft representing the Spanish Air and Space Force. This enormous wide-body aircraft is a true dual-threat asset. Up next, looming large, is a solo U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster III, showing off its jaw-dropping profile. This aircraft is the modern arsenal of democracy, capable of delivering hope in the form of humanitarian aid, or formidable power in the form of combat troops, to any corner of the earth in a matter of hours. Shifting our gaze back to our international partners, the German Luftwaffe is represented by twin-engine Eurofighters. This formation shows off Germany's rapid reaction capability to deploy anywhere on the globe at a moment's notice. Sweeping over the Hudson next is a tight four-ship formation of U.S. Navy PAA Poseidons. At first glance, you might think you are looking at standard commercial passenger airliners, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong. The PAA is a heavily modified from the ubiquitous Boeing 737 airframe. But don't let the corporate look fool you. This is the Navy's ultimate state-of-the-art submarine hunter. Approaching from the south is the ultimate display of American strategic air power. A historic three-generation heavy bomber triad flying together. Leading the formation is the unmistakable bat-like shadow of the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. Right on his wing is the sleek, supersonic B-1B Lancer. And anchoring the trio is the towering Titan itself, the B-52 Stratofortress. Turning up the air right now is a thunderous four-ship formation from the United States Marine Corps, featuring 2 UH-1Y Venom utility helicopters and 2 sleek AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters, known to Marines as the Huey and Cobra. This dynamic duo is the ultimate tag team of the Marine Air-Ground Task Force. And if you think it's getting windy down on the Hudson, you are right. Approaching now are 2 massive CH-53E Super Stallions and 2 CH-53K King Stallions, the legendary heavy lifters of the Marine Corps. Sailors aboard amphibious ships affectionately call this giant the Hurricane Maker because its 3 massive engines will generate a blinding downwash of air whenever it takes off. Rescue display featuring a Bright Orange Coast Guard Jayhawk and U.S. Air Force HH-60s. This is a beautiful showcase of inter-service unity. Whether responding to combat scenarios or devastating hurricanes, these crews share a common DNA of selflessness and bravery, always ready to extend a helping hand in the sky. Feeling that rhythmic rumble in your chest? That is the sound of the United States Army and Army National Guard storming the New York City skyline with a massive combined air assault formation. Leading the charge was the double-rotor CH-47 Chinook heavy lifter, flanked by lethal AH-64 Apache attack helicopters and many iconic UH-60 Black Hawk utility transports. Did you know that Chinook has been in continuous production for more than 60 years, while the Apache's helmet-mounted sight allows the aircraft sensors and weapons to follow wherever the crew member looks? From the south next is a type formation from the U.S. Navy featuring two frontline FA-18 Super Hornets escorting nimble F-5 Tigers. These aircraft belong to the Navy's elite adversary squadrons, where iron sharpens iron. By simulating enemy tactics, these elite pilots ensure that when American aviators face real threats, they are the most lethal, highly trained warfighters on the planet. Rocketing in next is a beautifully crisp formation of F-35A Lightning IIs from our steadfast NATO allies, the Royal Netherlands Air Force. The Dutch were one of the primary international partners involved in designing this revolutionary fifth-generation stealth fighter from day one. here is a trait you absolutely do not see every day. AB-8B Harrier II jets, representing the Spanish Air and Space Force. Spain represents the last operational Harrier community in Europe, a proud legacy of Vistol aviation.
Sorry.
That deep rumble returning as the U.S. Marine Corps sweeps in with a formation of F-35B Lightning IIs and legacy FA-18C Hornets. This is a beautiful snapshot of marine aviation in transition, but highlights the relentless, anytime, any-place expeditionary power that keeps American interests secure globally. Three F-35 Lightning IIs. Did you know that Italy operates both the conventional F-35A and the short takeoff and vertical landing F-35B, giving it flexibility from both land bases and aircraft-capable ships? Looming large over the New York City skyline is an essential site in global military operations. A massive U.S. Air Force KC-135 Stratotanker flanked by F-35A Lightning IIs. United States Air Force T-38 Talon, which has shaped generations of American aviators. For decades, it has trained fighter pilots, bomber pilots, test pilots, and astronauts in the skills needed for high-speed, high-performance flight. Now flying in from the south, the United States Navy carrier strike formation of 6 FA-18EF Super Hornets. The Super Hornet is the backbone of today's carrier air wing. Its strength is versatility. It can fight air-to-air, strike targets ashore, suppress enemy air defenses, conduct reconnaissance, and even refuel other aircraft. Closing out our aerial review today with unparalleled British flair. Look up for BAE Hawk T-1s from the United Kingdom's Royal Air Force, the world-famous Red Arrows. Watch as they fill the sky, trailing a magnificent patriotic plume of red, white, and blue smoke right across the city's skyline. What a spectacular, vibrant exclamation point to end our review.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Michael.
Hello everyone, great to be with you. And I just wanted to take a minute to talk to you about how incredible this day is and where we're sitting right now. To put it in perspective, for all of human history, thousands of years, we, people, got our rights from kings, from queens, from emperors, from czars. Just how incredible 50 years ago, our founding fathers
Weird out of you? No. Oh man. There's my chair right behind
For they always have to be defended. Now as a diplomat, under a president for peace, under a vice president for peace, I can tell you what, they do all they can to make sure we're using words, not bullets. But our enemies know, our enemies absolutely know, when we're sitting at that diplomatic table and they look offshore and they see a ship like this full of badass sailors, full of badass Marines, and sitting side by side with capable allies. They know President Trump, Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio mean business, and they make my job a hell of a lot easier. So, as an Army guy, I stand here today proud to say, go Navy, and happy birthday, America. Thank you, and I salute you. God bless you.
Please welcome to the stage Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Darrell.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I thought the ambassador was going to say, go Navy, beat Army. Vice President Vance, Acting Secretary of the Navy Cal, distinguished foreign heads of Navy, senior leaders, sailors, Marine, Coast Guardmen, honored guests, and friends, it's my pleasure to say welcome aboard USS Kearsarge. Vice President Vance, thank you for being with us here today. Your presence means a great deal to the Navy and Marine Corps team and every nation represented here. There's no better place to celebrate the enduring value and freedom than on board a United States warship, surrounded by the ships and sailors of nations committed to preserving peace and security at sea. Acting Secretary Cal, thank you, sir, for being here and serving as the reviewing official for today, and for bringing together this extraordinary gathering of ships, crews, and maritime leaders to honor 250 years of American independence. I also want to thank Captain Goshinsky and the crew of the Kearsarge. Great warships don't simply arrive ready. They are made ready through disciplined crews, careful planning, and countless hours of hard work. Today's ceremony is a reflection of that professionalism and the pride of our sailors and Marines take in and representing our nation. So to the Kearsarge team, bravo Zulu. I also want to thank every unit involved in making this event possible. Your professionalism helped make this celebration worthy of the moment. We gather aboard an American warship to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the independence of the United States of America. 250 years ago, our nation declared that liberty was worth defending. From the very beginning, that defense depended on command of the sea. Our first Navy was created not simply to fight battles, but to protect our commerce, strengthen our alliances, and secure the freedom upon which our young republic depended. That story continues today. The International Naval Review is more than a ceremony. It's a display of maritime strength, shared purpose, and international friendship. It demonstrates that like-minded maritime nations continue to sail together in defense of our shared interests and shared values. We train together, we operate together, and if called upon, we are prepared to fight together. Our interoperability is built through years of shared operations, mutual trust, and professional respect. To every participating nation, thank you. Looking across the waterfront today, we see far more than a collection of ships. We see generations of maritime tradition, enduring partnerships, and the collective resolve of nations committed to preserving peace through strength. Your ships, your crews, and your presence remind us that maritime security is shared security. No nation can protect the sea alone. Together, through trust, interoperability, and shared resolve, we preserve the freedom of the seas, deter aggression, and help ensure stability for generations to come. God bless our nation, the United States Navy, and the sailors and families that serve. Happy birthday, USA!
Please welcome the Acting Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable Hung Cao.
Good morning, everyone. Happy birthday, America. Mr. Vice President, sir, welcome back to your Navy Marine Corps family. Today, we're marking two massive milestones. First, we're celebrating the birth of the United States and the sacred ideals of liberty, freedom, and self-government. This year, as we commemorate America's 250th anniversary, we honor 2.5 centuries of grit, sacrifice, and raw courage by the warriors who have defended these ideals. Second, the International Naval Review, standing on the deck of this legendary warship alongside of our global allies and partners, proving to the world that our maritime coalition remains unbroken, lethal, and ready for the next 250 years. For 250 years, our Navy Marine Corps team has owned the high seas. We've defended this homeland, protected devastating power ashore, and represented the absolute best of American strength around the globe. This history isn't just in the textbooks. It is welded into the steel of this ship, USS Kearsarge. In 1864, the original Kearsarge hunted down and destroyed the Confederate raider CSS Alabama off the coast of France. That victory showed the world that American sea power was real and that we will protect our nation's interests whenever and wherever they are threatened. Today's USS Kearsarge carries the exact same fighting spirit. As a flagship of an amphibious ready group, the ship is the ultimate Swiss Army knife of national security. From launching Marines into the fight to delivering life-saving humanitarian aid and executing high-stakes special operations missions, Kearsarge gives the President and the Vice President lethal, flexible options that no other force on Earth can match. Now let's be honest, Kearsarge is no spring chicken. She was commissioned in 1993. She's got over 33 years of hard miles behind her. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. Our sailors and Marines don't make excuses. Heck, you can give them a rusty K-bar and a leaky canoe and they'll sneak into your country and kill you. As for this ship and her crew, they rescued an Air Force pilot downed in Bosnia. They evacuated 2,500 people from the chaos of West Africa. They brought the fight to the enemy during Operations Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, and Operations Over Libya. They surged into the Middle East to secure vital global shipping lanes and hunt down maritime threats. They delivered life-saving disaster relief in the Caribbean and Latin America, stepping it up during Hurricanes Irma and Maria when they devastated the region. And recently, they pushed deep into the high north and Baltic Sea, operating side by side with our allies and partners to remind our adversaries we represent maritime dominance wherever we sail. For 3 decades, Kearsarge sailed the world to reassure allies and remind our enemies, if diplomacy fails, we have a very big stick. American sea power is measured by our readiness to fight and our absolute commitment to serve. The International Naval Review isn't just about looking to the past, it's a call to action. 250 years ago, our founders knew that America's survival depended on a dominant Navy, and today we're answering that same call. That is the drive behind President Trump's Golden Fleet, our blueprint to build the dominant naval force that will carry America to the next 250 years. We're going to build ships. We're going to expand our fleet, rebuild our shipyards, inject strength into our industrial base, and dominate the technology of tomorrow. But most importantly, we're going to recruit, train, and retain the hard-charging sailors and Marines that are a true backbone of our maritime dominance. Every single watch, every single deployment, every single mission protects our economy, defends our allies, and preserves the freedom of the seas. The Golden Fleet of today is like Teddy Roosevelt's Great White Fleet before her. It is our promise to the next generation that America will continue to lead, continue to deter, and continue to preserve peace through strength. I have no doubt that when this country turns 500 years old, we will owe it under the protection of the lethal Navy Marine Corps team that we're building today. That is our promise. To our sailors and Marines, I'm never above you, I'm never below you, I'm always beside you. Semper Fi and Hoo-yah. Now, it is my distinct honor to introduce a leader who has fought tirelessly for our service members, our veterans, and our families. A brother in arms who once wore the uniform of the United States Marine. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the 50th Vice President of the United States, the Honorable J.D. Vance.
Semper Fi, and happy birthday to all the sailors and the Marines and all the service members of this incredible ship. Please, please, ladies and gentlemen, take a seat. You know, I know it's 100 degrees out here, but my speechwriters wrote me a nice 9-hour address, so it's going to be a long day, a long day. But let me start by saying, first of all, thank you for being here on this incredibly historic occasion. I have to give a shout out to Admiral Caudle and, of course, Acting Secretary Cal, two great Americans. Thank you for your leadership and for everything you've done to prepare us for this incredible celebration today. And I also, of course, got to give thank you, but also special greetings from the President of the United States for reviving this incredibly proud naval tradition as we celebrate 250 years of American daring and 250 years of American naval excellence. Today, we celebrate 250 years of America facing the future without fear. We celebrate 250 years of proving what a free people can achieve by the providence of our almighty Creator. I want to welcome the incredible sailors who are with us today, all the Marines, the Coasties, and countless others from all of our forces who serve our nation and do so proudly. And I especially want to thank and welcome our wounded warriors and Gold Star families, many of New York's finest police officers and bravest firefighters, and of course we have a number of local leaders from across this tri-state area. I'm honored to welcome the dozens of Navy chiefs and other guests from other countries around the world who represent the vessels joining us in today's review. And to the Americans who are watching back home, we have over 50 countries from all over the world who chose to send fighters or naval vessels here to honor our country. And we say from the bottom of our hearts, we are grateful for our friends, grateful for our allies on this special anniversary. It is a very American thing to ring in 250 years of American history by parading our naval and Air Force might for the world to see. But I can't help but consider that 250 years ago, the waters of New York Harbor looked very, very different. While the Continental Congress met in Philadelphia to ratify the Declaration of Independence, General Washington was right here in Manhattan, peering out on this beautiful land and beautiful sea. His attention was fixed on the horizon, watching for sails of the most powerful navy on earth. 1 week before, the British had begun landing troops on Staten Island, and they had landed 32,000 in just over 6 weeks. One colonist still in the city recounted it seemed as if all of London was afloat and heading to the new nation. War was coming, and everyone knew it. By July of 1776, 80% of New York's population had emptied out in anticipation of the coming violence. And that brings us back to our great General Washington. He knew the battles to come would be bruising and would demand much of his men. But they needed to know, through hot summers and cold winters, exactly what they were being asked to fight for. And so, just a few days after the Declaration of Independence was signed, George Washington read aloud the words of the incredible Declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Even today, 250 years to the day later, these words command a tremendous power over us as Americans. For 250 years, they have stirred our hearts and they've reminded us of who we are as a people. But to Washington's soldiers, to the people to whom they were first read, think about this, they were entirely new. What has become standard American parlance, they had never heard those words before. And I think it's something striking to reflect on. The audience would immediately grasp its words. Though they had never heard it, they would know exactly what it meant. It wasn't written for historians. It wasn't written for academics. It wasn't written for the generations to come. It was written for the people of this fledgling country. It was written for the soldiers who would fight to turn those words into a new system of government. As a document, it does not handhold its readers. Its citizenship at a very hard level. It does not pause to explain who this Creator is. It doesn't explain what the equality of men means. It doesn't try to go into details about the consent of the governed. It simply declares these truths to be self-evident. 250 years later, it's worth asking, self-evident to whom? If the Declaration proclaims truths the founders believed to all mankind, yes, but it says those truths in language intended to be familiar specifically to the American nation that it was authored to, authored by, and authored for. It was, as Jefferson put it later in his own life, an expression of the American mind. A document whose purpose wasn't, quote, to find out new principles or new arguments, but to place before mankind the common sense of the subject, the common sense of the American people. That people had been generations in the making. 1776 was not an accident. The patriots of that era understood themselves to be heirs to an older civilization who would carry it forward. Now, they shared with Great Britain the same language, the same God, the same system of common law. They even read many of the same books and observed many of the same customs. They shared the same understanding of justice and public life. George Washington's boyhood offers a small but revealing example. When he was 13 years old, he copied down more than 100 entries from a tiny little book called The Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior. It was not an American work, but it was first published in London more than a century before George Washington was born. Yet the America that formed Washington demanded qualities that no book, no manual could teach. Before General Washington commanded an army, he spent his 20s surveying America's wild interior, saving up money, learning self-reliance on a continent that rewarded initiative more than pedigree. It didn't care if you were a nobleman, it cared what you could do. Now, our society at the time reinforced the habits Washington learned in the wilderness. Frontier life rewarded resourcefulness, while America's colonial assemblies taught citizens to govern their own affairs. It taught citizens to be self-governing human beings. Churches at the time, especially those who were touched by the Great Awakening, reminded congregants that no earthly hierarchy outweighed the equal dignity of every human soul before its Creator. All of that came together. And so it was no surprise that when Washington's soldiers first heard the Declaration 250 years ago, they understood precisely what it meant. They understood the meaning that was conveyed. It was seismic, but it was their birthright as citizens of this new republic. The words might have been new, but they expressed a feeling, something that already lived in the heart of every single American patriot, and I believe those words still live in the heart of every single American patriot today. And for 7 long years, they fought for that birthright. It wasn't easy. On some days, it was hotter even than it was today, as hard as that is to believe. Many suffered and died for that dream and died for those principles. But by the grace of Almighty God, they secured for us a free, a proud, and an independent republic that endures, and doesn't just endure, but thrives to this very day. As Washington traded in the uniform for the presidency, he remained preoccupied with the physical land that had shaped him. He imagined wagons crossing mountains, paths out of the Alleghenies and the Appalachians, and canals connecting the Potomac and the Ohio River to its western valleys. Our first president would not live long enough to see that vision of a continent connected. He would not live to see it to completion. But the rivers he surveyed in his youth carried on westward without him. They carried settlers and new riches and cities waiting to be built. And eventually, they carried a 13-year-old boy by the name of James Buchanan Eads. In the fall of 1833, Eads and his family, like many Americans, moved west to the nation's growing frontier, the land of opportunity. And as their steamboat approached St. Louis, its boiler exploded, throwing him into the turbulent waters of the Mississippi. The family lost everything, every earthly possession, and the river nearly killed young Eads. From that moment on, he vowed not to be a slave to that mighty river, but to make it his own. He received no formal education, but to support his family, he sold apples on the St. Louis riverfront, captivated by the bustle and frontier of boomtown St. Louis. At 16, he took a job on the water, and not long after, he conceived of an idea that most engineers at the time, they thought it was crazy. They thought it was insane. You know, sunken ships and other treasures lay scattered along the bottom of the Mississippi. No business in the world existed to salvage them, to take that buried treasure on the bottom of the mighty Mississippi and bring it to work for people. Unlike the more peaceful streams out east, the river's strong currents and turbid waters, most insisted that ordinary diving in the mighty Mississippi was impossible. You could not do what Eads proposed that we do. But he disagreed. And so he did what every American does when they're told they can't do something. He went out and did it anyway, and he did it himself. He bought a 40-gallon whiskey barrel, fixed it to a diving bell, and climbed in, and down he went all by himself. The riverbed was pitch black, the current pulling his feet every which way. Sand swirled around him like a dense snowstorm, he later recalled. But he located his target, a large hunk of lead, tied on the cable, and came back to the surface. Eads went on to become one of the nation's greatest civil engineers. He built the very first bridge spanning the Mississippi River south of its confluence with the Missouri. An impressive feat for a man who'd never built a bridge before. The people who told him, you can't build the most difficult bridge because you've never built a bridge before, he said, yes, I can, because I'm an American and I'm going to do it myself. It was the first on the planet, that bridge, to be made of steel. And residents of St. Louis still use that bridge to this very day, nearly 200 years later. That is American ingenuity and American greatness. At the river's mouth in Louisiana, Eads raised jetties that helped calm its violent flooding to prevent the buildup of silt. And by doing so, he transformed New Orleans from the 9th largest port in the United States to the 2nd most powerful port in the world, rivaling only the city that stands behind us. But Eads had already faced a still greater test, because as the Civil War broke out, the government summoned him to Washington for his help building the ironclads which the United States Navy would seize the Mississippi with. It was no matter that Eads had never built a gunboat in his life. He had never built a gunboat ever. Instead, he completed 700 of them in 100 days. It's unbelievable. The river ships that Eads built were so strong that the Navy deployed them into the ocean to secure the Gulf. They served their purpose. They defended the Mississippi, and in doing so, they helped preserve our Union. And so it kept growing. And of course, the American frontier made way to farms and factories stretching further and further west. River towns became great cities. Railroads reached the Pacific. Steel mills rose where once wilderness had stood. The American mind widened, and the Republican whose independence Washington won, that James Eads had helped sew together, grew into the most powerful industrial powerhouse in the history of humanity. For other nations, growing industry brought dispossession before it did prosperity. In the old world, the one our ancestors had left behind, the Industrial Revolution threw society into chaos. And into that chaos rushed vacuums and ideologies that answered the dignity of man with labor camps and killing fields. Where the old world led to communism and fascism, the Americans recognized that at root, they were a denial of everything that Washington and Jefferson had read to his men 250 years ago. The free world needed to win, but in order for the free world to beat communism and fascism, it had to outproduce them. And as in every conflict before, America looked to her sailors for help, and to the builders who made sure those sailors had the very best ships to sail on. Among them was a man that we know as Henry Kaiser. Like Eads, Kaiser had grown up with very little. The son of German immigrants, he dropped out of school at 13 to work the stockroom at a dry goods store in Utica, making $1.50 a week and commuting 4 miles each way on foot. Eventually, he moved to Spokane for better job opportunities, setting his sights on starting his own company. Now, he walked into a bank with no business, no workforce, and no history, just a single proposed contract and what the banker would later describe as sheer audacity. He walked out with a $25,000 loan. And with his workers, he erected the Hoover Dam and hundreds of miles of highway across the West. Everywhere he went, he organized ordinary Americans to build extraordinary things. And everywhere he went, he believed their welfare and the welfare of the enterprise that he was building went hand in hand. Kaiser pioneered health coverage at his construction sites. That's why we know the name of Kaiser, because he understood that men working in dangerous conditions, they deserved to see a doctor. He saw his workers as partners, and he walked the walk long before it was fashionable to do so. Where some say that America's story is one of the dispossessed struggling against the powerful, Kaiser shows that America's greatness is built by cooperation between all of our citizens from every single walk of American life. Now, that cooperation was important, but it became profoundly important the day after Pearl Harbor. The United States Navy at the time needed ships bigger and better and faster than anyone thought they could be built. We didn't have the biggest Navy in the world, but we needed one, and we needed one fast. So Kaiser did what Americans always do when confronted with the impossible. He put it on his shoulders and said, let's go do it. Kaiser had never made a ship in his life, but that wasn't going to stop him. First, he built shipyards all up and down the Pacific coast. Then he filled them with American workers, 250,000 of them. Farm boys from Iowa, miners from Appalachia, mothers from Detroit who had never held a welding torch. Together, they launched nearly 15,000 Liberty ships, vessels that carried American cargo and sailors across 2 oceans. His Richmond yard built one of them, the SS Robert E. Peary, in an astonishing 4 days and 15 hours. The shipbuilders Kaiser hired, they weren't just a means to an end, they were his partners. Kaiser looked at his workers and saw people, Americans who got sick, who had families to raise, who showed up in Richmond and Portland with little more than a hat in their hand, but who had amazing potential. He saw the potential of normal Americans when unshackled from destitution. And he saw them not just as mouths to feed or as workers to pay, he saw them as fellow citizens who could build amazing things. So he built housing near these shipyards and nursery schools to help mothers join the war effort. He extended the health plan he had started at his dams to every worker at every yard, opening it to the public after the U.S. won World War II. And though separated by generations, I tell the story of these three men because Kaiser and Eads and Washington, they were exactly the kind of men that Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence for. Kaiser was an American. He looked at what needed doing and he did it, and he trusted the men and women around them to do the same, knowing that he could only do his job if they did theirs too. Our Declaration of Independence may have spoken to universal human truths and broadly shared human desires. Of course it does. But it was a document written by and for a particular kind of people, the American people. From General Washington to James Buchanan Eads, from Henry Kaiser, one of America's great shipbuilders, to the sailors standing here today. And by the way, what you folks watching at home on TV may not realize is that everything that you saw, everything that you see today was destroyed last night in a storm, but these great sailors rebuilt it in 12 hours so that you all could be here, so that we could have this amazing procession, and so we could celebrate our 250th birthday in style. All of us, connected through the generations, rich and poor of every job, we are a people formed by generations of self-governance and personal industry. We are formed by Frontier Assembly Hall and congregation, by River Valley and prairie and factory floor. We are formed by the conviction that we are bound to one another, not only by bloodline nor creed alone, but by a common character, a shared fate, and a shared future. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to address what you will hear from some loud voices today, because as much as all of us, whether we're Democrat or Republican, whatever our political persuasion, all of us are celebrating. But you will hear a couple small but loud voices today speak obsessively not of our national greatness, but of our national imperfections. They will speak of the powerless and the dispossessed. They will tell you that America is just another country where the weak struggle against the strong. And if they acknowledge that there is anything to be proud of in our history, they'll say it's the fact that sometimes the powerless have won a zero-sum battle. They're wrong. They'll talk about America's sins with the anger and zeal of a brimstone preacher, but without any of the grace or forgiveness that must be present in the Christian faith. These people misunderstand the essence of America, from Thomas Jefferson to Henry Kaiser. They misunderstand that we all have moments of great power despite those very real imperfections. That there are victims and heroes who live inside of each of us, from the most ambitious leaders and builders to steel welders like my grandfather. People who had their own role to play in turning this dangerous wilderness into the proudest civilization in history. So what I'd ask you to do, my fellow Americans, on our 250th birthday, is to reject the two-dimensional view of your fellow citizens and reject the two-dimensional view of your country. Reject that America is a place for zero-sum thinking, because it is not. Our history is one of people carving a great civilization out of the wilderness. Reject the view of your nation that sees only its sins, but not its grace and its greatness. Everything that we have done as a country, we have done together. Not as citizens divided against each other, but as a common people working towards a common future. When we won our independence, we were led by General Washington to liberty and greatness, but marching ahead of him were thousands of boys from all over the new nation who gave Washington's military genius its foundation and its firepower. When we saved the world in World War II from tyranny in the 20th century, of course we needed great military leadership and tactical genius from our generals, but we also needed Rosie the Riveter, Iowa farm girls who built the machinery of war, and the sweethearts they sent to a world away to storm the beaches at Normandy. When we went to the moon, of course our great astronauts flew the rockets and our great men of science and engineering built them. But there were clerks and janitors and welders like my grandfather who each played their distinctive American part. All of us have a part. All of us had our part, our role to play in creating 250 years of a proud American story. And all of us will need to do our part to create the next 250 years of American greatness. So I say to all my fellow Americans, I'm proud of you. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to our great nation. Today, my friends, we celebrate. And tomorrow we get back to work. God bless you. Thank you for having me.